Yeah, we're gonna
The
go
stuff
over something
G-Man
else.
said.
We'll hang for a minute here. We got nobody watching yet over here. So like
You still shoot your 880 that you had?
no, I don't have it anymore. Got rid of it, which I regret doing. Uh, oh, I misspelled take two. I was in such a rush to get back up and going here.
You did it pretty quick.
There's
There we go.
okay. Sound great, better.
I'm
Who
also
knows,
not.
guys? I think we just had a crappy internet connection or something. I'm not directly hooked up. I'm running off my Wi-Fi at my house, so I apologize, guys.
I got off of my Wi-Fi during that time, so my,
Okay.
my kids are probably in there watching all the shows. So G-Man says my
Yeah.
sound good. Let's get let's get to you said G-Man's comments.
Yeah. So he was wanting to know about some tools, which I thought was a cool subject. So, Gary, I appreciate that. That'd be kind of something to get into. So, I'll kind of I have some thoughts about it. So I'll just kind of kick it off with, you know, working on these things. You start to accumulate some stuff, and I'm like I said before, I'm a mechanical person anyway.
Yeah,
So all the hand tools and stuff, I had a lot of stuff laying around, a few electric, nothing, no high end stuff at all, but tools work on cars and things like that. There's that kind of stuff. But some of the stuff I thought that I would check in with, something that you got to have when you're working on air guns that people might not think about is wood, wood
yeah,
dowels.
yeah,
Um, this, I got this little long skinny one. These were both much longer at one time. But these are good, push pellets. This will fit down. I don't know if it'll fit down a 177 barrel. No, it won't. For 22. Beating on stuff with you can see this chunk of wood here is pretty beat up. We get smacked with the hammer and stuff, but it's a lot better to have something like this or this. You can see this guy's all beat up, smashed, than
yeah,
beating directly on your metal parts on your air gun. So,
yeah. I've got a
but,
piece of broom handle that I cut down and cut slits in that I can just put sandpaper down in, and that's what I use for the inside of the springers.
oh,
Um,
yeah, it's a good
and
idea.
and then I've got the shotgun cleaning rod with a wad of stuff taped to it to clean that out. And then I've got a foam, like the shooting rest that I shoot off of a lot, but it's a bigger piece. And anytime I'm working on anything with pins, like a trigger or anything like that, I just stick the pins down into that foam the way they come out because I always take the guns
Yeah.
apart the same way. So like
Yep.
the barrels
Hey,
all the
Luke.
way to the left.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I kind of learned. I haven't applied that to air guns, but when I was probably about 10 years old, my dad and I had to take the heads off of an old Ford Granada. If anybody
Yeah,
out there remembers that cars, 302, and it had to. I don't even remember exactly. I All I know is we had cardboard and every push rod that came out, we poked it through the cardboard. Everything went on there exactly how it came off the motors when we put it back.
that's where I learned that too.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I worked on
So,
airplanes. I worked on Harriers in the Marine Corps. And anything you take off like that, you have to do that
right.
because it's a 40-year-old airplane, and every little rivet and fastener has been taken out 1,000 times. And it's like, they may all be the same. They're supposed to be the same, but they're all might be different lengths.
Right. Different. And that's something too I've noticed working on air guns is you start taking stuff apart, you'll have very similar uh example. Real similar. Well, like this. So we got these two screws right here. Of course, they're smaller, much smaller than headwise, but sometimes you'll have them the same and they're different lengths, things like that. Trying to remember, try to remember where those go. So, like, sometimes I'll lay them out you know, kind of like you're talking
Yeah.
about, like and stuff to try to keep track of.
And that's also kind of the reason that I've bought the same platform over and over, because I've had probably 10 Crossmans that they're all the same.
They're all the same, yep, which is
And
cool.
so, I know that if I find that something on the ground, I'm like, oh, that's the spring that I took out from the trigger when I did the RC bearing mod.
Yep.
Or I can
Yeah.
be like, that's
You
from the
know it
rear.
that well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same
I
thing with
was. I don't know if. Oh, go ahead.
same thing with 880s. But
Yeah.
I'm getting to where I can do an 880 and like I cleaned one the other day in like 10 minutes. So,
Mm. Yep.
but
Just know your way around that. Well, I've got one here, but it's kind of some of these parts going around, so it's kind of a mess. This is out of my M30B. I'm working on doing some stuff with it. And it's another tool I'm going to talk about here in a little bit that I just got a couple days ago. You can't really see it how well. I don't know if you guys can see how nice and shiny stuff that is. Polishing some parts, but yeah, I've got this thing all gutted complete. The only thing I didn't take out was the regulator. This guy go. This was it. Looked like that, and now it looks like this. So,
yeah, you were talking about
but
you
yeah,
got
just getting
a
to know
drill
them.
press.
Yeah, so I got the box here. Uh,
Another thing that I use a lot is I've got a set of jeweler's files that they were going to throw away while I was in the Marine Corps, and that's what we use to to work on the first stage blades on the turbine. And because
mm,
there's like a way that you have to get rid of the nicks, and I just acquired one of those sets of Snap-on jeweler's files, and
uh,
I use those all the time
yeah,
for
that's the other thing too. Like with working on air guns, it's a lot more fine tools. You know what I mean? You're talking about files. I was gonna, like I got my little. This is all mostly Harbor Freight stuff. Little punch set,
yeah.
great tab, little file set stuff. Like I said, it's all Harbor Freight stuff. But
Yeah, all my
uh,
stuff that was my dad and my grandpa's. I did learn really quick to get a smaller hammer because I was using
yep.
like a regular ball peen hammer and I
Hmm.
was just maiming everything. So I have a tiny little ball peen hammer that um, I use. I've got a hammer with an actual wooden head on it that I use a lot for a
Oh
rawhide.
yeah, yeah. I've got this little guy.
Yeah,
You don't usually have to hit anything real hard and working on air gun. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I
I'd
do
like
have
to
a
get
ball peen hammer, but
I'd like to get a lathe and like a tabletop mill in the future,
yeah,
but
that's definitely on my list.
where I'm
So
at right now, I'm hoping to get a building um, within the next couple of years. Before we moved here, I had like a 2 bay garage. So G-Man says, "Are you polishing with steel wool or metal polish?" Most of the time,
um,
most of the time
go
I
ahead.
use really fine sandpaper um, and steel wool. Really, really fine steel wool. But the thing with steel wool, especially on the inside of the air gun, if there's any burrs, it's going to stick to it. So I
Yeah,
don't really go on the
yeah,
inside of the compression tube with that. But most of the time, unless it's I've only had two that I had to really work on like that. If once you clean them once you do it one time, you don't really have to do it again. But
yeah.
when you first get them, especially if it's a new air gun that's not been shot much, they're actually pretty gnarly inside.
They are. And I did polish the engine, so- and I did polish it. But what I'm using is actually Mother's.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what I got. Some aluminum polish or chrome polish.
Yeah, and I did some research on that, and I did actually find where some guys said it's maybe even not quite abrasive enough, so it wasn't over abrasive and kind of polishing the inside of a barrel is a thing. So this first one I've ever tried, I was like, that sounds good to me. Let me baby step into this thing, you know what I mean? So and not
Yeah,
not overdo it. And
I
I
just
still
saw
got a long way to go work on getting that together. I'm trying to find
I just saw Cyclops Joe was in there. I watched his scope video today, and
Joe, what's up, man?
I almost commented,
Yeah.
"Where did you get that Tim the Toolman Taylor sound effect?" But I googled it. But now it's gonna be like I'm ripping him off. But
Yeah.
uh, it made me laugh. He had another video that was I forget the joke, but he said it's more complicated than Navajo code talkers or something. But right when he said that, it had like I listened with headphones, and it had like background of like Indian stuff, and it was hilarious. But anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
I love watching his stuff. It's some good entertainment.
Yeah, he should have been a teacher. Joe should have been like a trade school teacher because I would have probably, if he had been my teacher, had a college degree instead of having two
Yeah.
partials. But
He is kind of a teacher, man. I mean, if you
yeah,
watch him.
yeah, oh yeah,
So I wanted to show you guys what I got these in 17, 22, and 25, and they're cleaning pellets. And so these come with a jag. You see them on the back here. They actually like thread on. I watched a barrel polishing video and a guy was using these
yeah,
instead of anything else, and they work really good. I really like them. So if you guys are thinking about getting barrel polishing, that somewhere around here, I bought a cleaning rod that's coated. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
not just beer to do that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
I have like 20 cleaning rods. I need to just throw them out and start over because I've got all kinds of parts and pieces, and I don't know. That's like I'm trying not to hoard stuff, but cleaning rods, I'm always like I may
Yeah,
need one day, but
might
I'm
need
not
that.
going to.
What if one piece breaks from another one or something, and I need
Yeah,
it? You know?
G-Man asked if my jeweler's files could get into the um, steel crossman bolt area. Maybe on the back, but the set that I have is like, I think there's probably 10 different shapes, but I don't know if you could get all the way in there. So,
I'm gonna have to look into those. I bet those would be handy.
yeah, especially for deburring the anywhere like the cock and lever or the shape of the sear on a trigger, because you can kind of ramp up the back of it and remove a little bit. I'm not don't do this anybody. And if you do it, go really slow. You're gonna have to put your trigger together like 10 times. But you can leave the back with a little lip, and it'll change a really mushy trigger to a more crisp trigger. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't do that to anything that's valuable though.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
only experiment on cheap stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of one of another nice things about kind of being into the budget air guns and stuff is, you got 80, $100 wrapped up in something. You
Yeah,
jack it up. It's like, well, that sucks, but you're not out 5 grand. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
I messed up a Marlin one time that I was like really attached to a 22, and the gunsmith guy, the guy we have here, there's no chance he'll watch this, but he's more of an AR, somebody that puts together ARs, and he does good work. But with older 22s, I mean, most people don't care about them. And he was like, "Yeah, there's no way we can get them. There's no way we can get this part." And
yeah.
I did a bunch of research on it, and they use that same part for like 40 years. So I just hopped on eBay, and they're like $6. So
Uh,
for like a year and a half, I had the sketchiest trigger ever, and I could have just
right.
looked for
Could have had
myself.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually, that reminded me just one time I had a Toyota 4Runner that I bought, and the blower, it was stuck on like low. And I went to auto parts store, and they were like, "No, you only can get that part from the dealer." Well, the dealer wanted like $120 for it. And I think I had the first kid and stuff. I mean, I could afford. I drove around for 2 winters scraping the inside of my window,
yeah,
and then I looked it up one time online, and it was like $20.
yeah,
Whoever was at that part store just didn't look it up. I guess. Nope, you
yeah.
can't get that here. Nope. Let's see what else. Um, so here's something I got, guys. That is a very handy. This is just a little Dremel tool. It's a Drill Master. Again, Harbor Freight. So I've actually got one of these, and I've been using it for 3 years. And not too long after I bought that one, I bought this one, thinking, well, that thing's not going to last very long, and I'll be right in the middle of a project. It's going to crap out. Well, it's been 3 years, and the thing's still going. So I got my backup still sealed up here. So, and they're just nice to have for doing all kinds of stuff, man. And again, it's not a Dremel, actual Dremel. It's a cheap brand, and you got to kind of nursemaid them along and stuff. But 3 years, and I'm beating the crap out of it. So they're $10 at Harbor Freight. So,
Man, they don't even. Loki says that that's the store he'd like to have up there. They don't have anything in Canada. Bless their hearts. Like
yeah,
if you didn't got a Harbor Freight, I mean, I'm not picking on you, Loki. Well, a little bit, but
yeah. Well, he gives it right back too. Don't worry about
yeah.
that.
I told him he would have to. I mean, he could come live in the woods, but he would have to hide from my wife because she would definitely call the cops. But I go hang
Yeah,
out with him, like once a week. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go shoot. Bring him supplies. But
yeah, yeah.
that probably wouldn't work out good. That's a good way to be on the news.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're trying.
Yeah.
Uh, well, obviously, Allen wrenches. That's something else too. I went and
Yeah,
bought T-handle ones here
yeah, I did
again.
too.
Harbor Freight a while back.
Actually, one of my friends got me some T handles because I kept stripping out everything because you don't realize how much torque you can get with a tiny little Allen key, but you can really over torque something. And
Yeah.
I got one of those Wheeler torque wrenches, and that's actually I think like a must have. I know it's a cheap torque wrench, but for setting up scopes and for I mean with a 1022 you can completely tune the accuracy of one of those with a torque wrench.
Hmm.
So
See, that's all stuff that I don't know about yet. You know what I mean? I just kind of set them up. But I have an inch pound torque wrench and a regular.
yeah, sometimes with springers it depends on how it sits in there, how the stock is, but you can every once in a while the Crossman Quest 1000X I have to watch the torques on it and that B3, but it
Yeah.
affects them a little bit, but not as much as a 1022. The 1022, the factory stock sits up against the barrel, and even when they're free floated, it still sits on there a little bit because there's only two mounting points on the 1022, so it's not a very rigid design. So with the
Yeah.
torques, when you're messing with the torques, it's actually pushing the
Just lining
barrel
that
up.
baby up. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's actually making it a little more rigid, more contact. I don't really, I don't know. That's a whole different wormhole, but I don't think
Right. Right.
I don't think that those need to be free floated. But I, you get into arguments with people on that.
Yeah. Gives you guys something to talk about. Okay. So,
Yeah,
uh, other stuff. Well, okay. I started to touch on this drill press. One of the things I've always battled with is drilling a straight hole. I can't drill straight hole by hand to save. And so this was like $40 on Amazon, and I had a half-inch Milwaukee drill that I've had for. I'm thinking about it, just setting it up, and the cord was cracked in
yeah,
one spot. And I'm like, I remember, oh yeah, this thing's like 17 years old. So, but
yeah,
anyway, so I bought this little dude, and you can rotate it. Like right now, I've got it set up turned this way with a Dremel bit in it for polishing those parts. And it's pretty basic. I mean, I got clamped down, but it made polishing those parts go from probably a 3 or 4 hour by hand process to about 20 minutes. I'm very, very happy about that. So
yeah. I wonder if you
you
could
guys
get a
look
tiny.
something like that, just
I wonder if you
40
could get
bucks
a
on
tiny
it.
little mill table for that thing.
Yeah, and I've been looking into that because when you start looking at these on Amazon, then mill tables start popping up. I was
Yeah,
looking at routers because I kind of want to be able to make gun stocks or something, and start. So I'm just kind of delving into that, kind of learning. So I don't know shit about wood stock. Work.
yeah, me
I can
either.
nail a couple boards together, but I'm not a carpenter. So
I've
What's
made,
the nice thing about with YouTube and stuff, man? There's that information is all out there. If you're willing to sit down, put in the time, and look for it, you can learn how to do anything. It seems like anymore. So,
yeah, yeah. The
but
gunsmith that I was kind of just talking about didn't like to work on my old 22s. He's wanting me to go video him because he taught stock making. He's my age, but he taught stock making for like 4 years at a community college here, and he actually is a master at that. Like,
wow,
I mean, and I was like, "Well, do you think you could do it in a 10-minute video?" And he's like, "No, this would be like a 2 or 3 month project.
right, right.
It would be like a week's worth of just picking the wood out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. You know,
Right.
I want that left-handed 223 bolt gun that we've been talking about, but I don't know if I want it for months of work.
Yeah,
You know, I might
and that's
just
all part. Finding that nice piece of wood. You probably got to look at a lot of it in order to find
yeah,
something. Yeah. So
yeah. But that, I
I
think
don't know.
that's
So
just
I'm just gonna scratch the surface with that stuff. See what happens.
yeah,
I don't think it's anything I make right now would not be. It looked like you ever seen that Simpsons episode when Homer makes the spice rack that's hanging on the wall,
no.
and
I have my favorite Simpsons episode is the one where he gets the bass. So I play bass, or I played the guitar my whole life, but I kind of sucked at it. And then like 4 years ago, I got an acoustic bass to play
mhm.
just around the house. And then I was like, oh, I should have been playing bass the whole time because my hands are like toaster ovens.
Yeah,
And
that's how I
get
played
parts.
bass for a long time. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, G man, fire that thing up, man. I have to check, but still good. He said he's got a router from his dad he'll never use. I've checked to see if it's still good. So I don't know if he's offering that up to me or if he just thinks he got to break it out, and make some stocks. If you get good at making stocks, buddy, let me know. I'll pay you to make a stock for me.
yeah. I've got a
But
good
yeah,
one
I
from
played that.
First State. If you're ready for another like comment,
Yeah, yep.
so this is one that um, I have. This is an opinion. So if all the stuff I'm about to say is just my opinion. Don't get there's a lot of different trains of thought with this thing. But he says, "What do you guys think about the new self defense CO2 paintball type markers?" Or he goes to kind of ask about, "What do you think about the air guns that are marketed for self defense?" And then maybe um, we could expand on like those types of videos because those are out there. The
Hmm.
this air gun for self defense, and I think that I don't think that's a good thing personally. I think that the first person that really gets messed up with an air gun, there's going to be a bunch of regulations on
Yeah,
air,
yeah. That's a
and I think
really good point.
yeah, I think the only people that would really pertain to is felons. And while I have a couple of buddies that are felons, at the same time I don't think that they really should have guns. You know, especially one of them that I'm thinking about. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on the whole self defense air guns things?
Well, I did. I think I still have a video up on how to. It's Umarex HDR 50 HDR.
The
It's the
pistol?
T4E 50 HDR 50, and it was like the 7 joules version of it. And I bought a 11 joules valve from Rockstar and put it in, and that video's been watched a lot. That video's got a lot of, and my thought process behind that was to have it for a non-lethal, like if somebody broke into my house or something like that. But
Right.
I've since sold it. A friend of mine that it was into them. And I don't know. I mean, I think I never really thought about the point you made about the first time somebody gets really jacked up in a situation like that. What the potential ramifications of that are.
But
I
at
hadn't
the
even
same
thought
time,
about that.
those is that type of person going to seek out like and go through the trouble of learning a PCP, a full auto PCP? You know?
I don't think so because when they can just buy a black market handgun or something like that.
Yeah.
Because when people think air guns, they don't think power, like any kind of killing power or anything like that. So
I think my perspective is I live way out, not way out in the country, but a pretty good ways out in the country. And most of the time, I wouldn't be thinking about non-lethal force. If they made it all the way to my house, they're there for they're there to get shot. So,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but I don't know. I guess if you were in like a city, a crowded area, and you were the type, nobody wants to have to have to take somebody's life or something. But I guess
Right.
if you felt strongly enough about it, but at the same time, I'll just get a 20 gauge with some rubber shot.
Definitely going to be even more effective than like an HDR T40 or something like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that those guns are cool. So, because I watched the Airgun Alley, it's Airgun Alley Miami. I'm sure I messed that up, but he makes awesome videos, and he's been shooting this ballistics dummy with that pistol for several videos, and I'm like, man, that would be fun, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't. I guess I really hadn't
Like
thought through it. I shouldn't have said anything.
the T4E. A friend of mine that I sold mine to, he had one, and there was something in the valve or something. I can't remember what it is now. I used to know that you could take out and make it even more powerful. And I mean, he was in a new subdivision where it was all new streets, like no houses. There was
Right.
a construction sign, and he shot it from like 15 feet away. And I mean, it put a huge dent in that sign. Like that thing will mess you up. It
Oh
will
yeah,
ruin. It's
I
not going
seen
to kill
some.
you. But I kind of like because you know, somebody breaks into my house, necessarily want to kill the guy. You know what I mean? Or is that just going to piss him off, come at me harder? I don't.
Yeah, I hope I never have to do that. That's not a a fun thing to think about. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think I seen somewhere where that thing's making like 60 FPE, and that's I mean a 22 rimfire is at like 40 to 45 standard
yeah,
velocity. So that's plenty to
yeah. Got the power. So
but yeah,
that Rune Rebel. You ever watch his stuff?
who's that?
Rune Rebel. RUN Rebel. He's from like North. I think he's from Norway. That's how when I first bought the HDR 50, I found his channel. He's got all kinds, and I still subscribe to him. He's still doing all kinds of stuff with like the 68 caliber like shotgun looking thing, and he'll make like his homemade like slugs with like like steel balls and stuff like that. Because over there you can't have any real firearms at all. And in fact,
Yeah.
back when I was into that stuff, paying attention to it, his house got raided, and they took all of his stuff. So then he
Wow.
was just making knife and sword and axe videos for a while until he started acquiring more of those kind of guns again. Yeah, so they just don't mess around with them. They just come and take it all. Nothing you can do about it. Going.
Yeah, I'd move personally, but
Yeah,
that's easier said than done. If my mom, if I feel um, a responsibility to be close to family here. So if I was living somewhere like that, I'd do the best I could, like those people are. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about in a country where you can't get firearms. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Next, I'll get another one.
Hey, G man, I did see your comment about offering it a while back. Just message me on Instagram or something like that. Try to get hooked up on it or Facebook later. And yeah, I'm definitely interested. I appreciate it. Appreciate that. What do we got going on?
Okay,
Try
Ron,
to be more conscious of the comments, guys. I want to.
I've got I've got one. Go back to that raunchy conservative. He said favorite CO2 air guns, and then he said best air gun for utilitarian purposes,
Yeah.
hunting, playing, maybe the best
Yep.
truck air gun. I'm just gonna combine all that into one, and then also maybe go over some benefits of air guns over center fires. I think that's probably the best place to start with that question is the benefits of air guns over center fires and rim fires because I'm with shooting I'm not like an air gun person. I I'm the same way with motorcycles. Like I don't even though I have like a Harley Davidson tattoo, I don't just like Harleys. So with guns, I like all guns.
Right.
And but the benefit of air guns over those is honestly the sound and how convenient they are and the limited range. The limited range of the air gun, especially the budget stuff, is actually the beneficial part because I don't have to worry about it going half a mile if it bounces off a tree wrong. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the benefits. And then the sound, if you do get into the weeds on the whole like survival situation type thing, you would, I think it'd be wise to have something that if you were killing small game, you wouldn't be attracting maybe somebody that was looking for you. So um and
Yeah.
they're just convenient. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can.
Some of the stuff I love about them too. Half circle. Everyone should like all guns. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
I just
stay
saw
open.
that stuff.
You got to stay open minded. You don't want to be
Yeah.
but
And yeah, the air gunning. I don't know what it was about it that just because I've been hunting and shooting guns and stuff off and on my whole life, the whole thing, and there's just something about it, man. I just love
yeah,
it. Love doing it. I think a big part of it is being able to work on them, not
yeah,
being afraid to work on them. You know what I
yep,
mean? I can get in there, do stuff like the stuff I was picking up earlier, and I know that all doing all these little things is going to make that gun perform better, and that end goal is very exciting.
yeah.
It doesn't always work out. Let me tell you, I've got a few boxes in my closet with a pile of parts in them from something that just did not pan out. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, but once you get rid of them, it's not going to be like, oh man, I just threw away $800. It's going to be like, okay, that's like 150. Not that.
yeah,
Still, you can still get
still,
out. But I kind of look at it as like tuition payments, like mistakes I make. So I'm like, well, I
yeah,
could have paid somebody to teach me this, or I could have just messed up a bunch of stuff like I do a lot. So
all right, yeah, that's
I've
part of it.
in the past I took a Legacy 1000 apart, and I had to go buy another Legacy 1000 to put the first one back together
So
because I
yeah,
was like, it was like I was like, what? Who did this, and how did they put
right,
it together? Because it's
yeah,
like an assembly line of people just putting them together, and I'm like, how in the
right.
world did people with hands do this? Because I was like having my elbow down and like stuff glued to stuff, and I was like, this is impossible.
I'll
But
tell you what. One of the worst ones ever was the Crossman M4, the little pumper.
yeah,
Have you ever taken one of them apart?
no,
Put it back together?
I took a 760 apart a bunch, which I think
Okay,
is the
same
same.
same thing.
Yeah,
That trigger, getting
yeah,
all that. It was oh man, what's his name? Cheap Air Gunner. I don't know if you're familiar with his channel,
uh-huh.
but he had video on. He was talking about because again, I got the gun and I want to do stuff, so I'm doing research. And he's like, basically, putting this trigger back together is like almost mission impossible, and getting the gun back together. You
Right.
get everything to sit and stay, and how they do it, because like you said at the factory, somebody at the factory just wants next,
Yep.
next. You know what I mean? They're just throwing it down the line. Yeah, and
That
it's a huge pain, huge pain.
that the 760 video that I have just explain how to put it back together. That's one of my most viewed videos, and it's like I can see because it's also one of the videos that has the most dislikes, but I think it's because people can't get them back together and they're just mad at me. But
Yeah, yeah,
the I get comments like once a month it'll be like, "Thank you so much for this video," and I'm like, "I know
yeah,
how it is, man." But
yeah.
I glued a bunch of that stuff together before I put it together, and then I found out that if you can squeeze it together and leave your pump arm a little bit open, and then it's all kind of lined up, and then if you hit that pump arm a little bit, the air pressure kind of pops everything into place.
Mm,
So, but
see
see,
where
I
it
had to
goes. Yeah. I
it,
never figured that out.
that was a solid like 2 hours of me taking that apart and putting it back together before I figured that out.
Yeah,
And you just feel like an idiot because I'm like, man, this is a $36 air gun.
Exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get this thing in. That thing is kicking my ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I glued those pins into the one side of the receiver with super glue.
Yeah,
That
why
was,
not? You know,
that was the trick for me. But
I think for me, my favorite CO2 gun is I when the Chasers came out, I really kind of went. I had four of them at one time, and the reason why I went with Chaser over like a 2240 or something like that, and I had a 1377 uh, was it already came with the metal for each, and it just had features on it, and it was the price was about the same, or maybe it was even less. I don't know. So, but I'm actually right now coming from Terry at Buckreal. I've got the whole conversion kit. I've got a 22 caliber pistol that's hanging in my little cabinet over here that I'm just going to
yeah,
make a little parking out of. I've got a little scope coming for it and some other, so I really like those. I enjoyed shooting those, but that right now, uh, the Umarex Fusion 2. Joe Iturralde has one of those, and he really likes it. And uh, I just like, it's a multi-shot CO2 gun. It's supposed to be really super quiet. It's supposed to be a reliable gun. I'm not a huge Umarex guy, not a big fan of stuff, but that particular one, I guess, is a pretty good one. And I've eyeballed that and thought about buying that one quite a bit. It's just got other stuff going on. And I got the Chaser. It's like I'll get my CO2 fixed with my Chaser once I get it all put together and fancy stuff.
yeah. I had one of those Dianas. I had a guy sending me stuff. I told you about that the other day, but
Yeah.
I almost had a guy sending me a bunch of stuff one time, and he sent me one of those, and I was really stoked on it, but I didn't have enough time to really make a good video on it, so I was kind of holding off. And then he sent me a bunch of like weird passive aggressive and aggressive emails, and I was like, man, let me just put all this stuff in the box for you, and
Yeah.
you
You can
can
have
you
that.
can figure out where
Yeah.
you need to put it when you get it. So
Yeah.
um,
Really being polite there.
yeah, yeah. It's not what I said to you on the phone, but
Right.
um,
Hey
yeah,
Ken, how you doing,
weird.
buddy? Thanks for coming by. Sorry, Ken was arrogant pesting and this arrogance and pesting Ken. That's weird. I don't know if you know Ken Brown.
Yeah,
If you're not familiar with it, yeah. He's awesome.
yeah. I've
Hey,
watched a bunch.
oh, Ken, real quick. Ken recommended. I actually ended up with two of them, Ken. So
Have you used that thing yet? The West Hunter?
not yet. No, it's been crummy here and they just came in, so I have
What are you
not
gonna put,
yet, but what's that?
What are you gonna put that on?
This one is actually gonna go when my M30 is all done, it's gonna go on that. But it'll go on something else because that M30 is gonna take about all the time. But Ken, I've been wanting to step up my optics game because I've got well, I can't reach it right now, but there's like a CV Life, so it's the same scope, but it's like a 60 point, and those are all branded CV Life or Pinty or whatever. Belishi. I've been buying the Belishi ones because they sell them cheaper than anybody else. So if you guys are looking for some of those kind of, so it's like a $50 6 to 24 by 50 scope, which is fine. But then I got this is a big deal to me, guys. This is a 624 by 50. It's first focal plane. It's my first focal plane scope. Reticle's really nice, and I've been hearing really good things about them. And they're priced. The price is really good on it. I think this kit it comes with the caps and the sunshade and the wheel and all that stuff.
Is that 30
It's like
millimeter?
130 millimeter tube on it too. Yeah, $138.
Yeah, that ain't too bad. I bought a TrueGlow one time, and it was horrendous, but I did put it on a Springer, so it lasted about 50 shots.
Yeah, these is PCP only.
Yeah,
I don't know. I saw Ken there and that made me. Yeah, he said, Jay, right on. First focal plane gonna spoil you, bro. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
They're nice. They feel good. The turrets are nice.
I'll have to get
I'm happy.
something. I'm thinking I'm going to pick up a gauntlet. Um, I think a
Yeah,
22
yeah,
from a
they're
buddy of mine, but I'm gonna have
yeah,
to put on it like that.
yeah,
But
they're pretty good, I guess.
yeah,
If there's going to be one flying in between us here pretty soon, guys. That's kind of the joke.
yeah,
It's kind of inside thing that we're putting out there.
yeah. I got to get. Well, I think I might be getting a compressor sent to me, so I'm hoping that
Oh,
I'm hoping
I
that
was,
that.
we didn't really get a chance to. We've talked several times, and that's kind of something I meant to talk to you about. Because when we were first communicating through, was it through email? I think we're talking.
Yeah,
I talked a little bit about getting a compressor or whatever. And with that one, it's got that 23 CI tank on it. Unless you're topping off after mags, you're definitely compressor for that thing. That thing will murder you. A 13 CI, I think, is 130 pumps from empty,
yeah,
completely empty to full. So, but it doesn't sound much like well, whatever. Well, go ahead and pump
no,
that thing. As the pressure steadily, it gets harder and harder and harder and harder, and harder as you're pumping.
yeah. I've got
The
a buddy
thing's
with a
really,
Marauder. Hand pumping it is like that, but
yeah. But you know what? Like Johnny Mac, I don't know if you're still in here, bud, but he doesn't. He's never had a compressor or a bottle or anything. He's always hand pumps it. He's got Marauder and an Armada, and he's totally not a problem for him. He's fine with that. And I'm like, man, I ain't impressed with you know what I mean? But yeah. So you don't have to have one, but it sure
yeah.
makes life
Well,
a lot easier.
I think at this point, the reason I was holding off on really buying anything expensive because the reason I really started making the airgun videos to begin with was because I could make them in my yard in a short amount of time, and I just wanted practice for. My plan in the beginning was to learn how to make the videos with air guns and then transfer over to rifles, but then that I got this Crossman G1 Extreme that was more accurate than anything else that I had used, and that sent me down the rabbit hole of, well, let's take it apart a few times, and well, let's get another one and see if I can make it shoot good, and then that's like a year and a half. So
Yeah,
I think I'm going to stick with it. So I might as well
yeah.
invest in it. And I'm thinking about selling my really nice camera setup because I like using the cheap stuff better, and it would pay
Right.
for probably the compressor and maybe the German Springer because I
You
just
know, yeah. I'm sitting here looking at my wall right now, and I see several of them that I want to part with. I just haven't put anything up about them yet. But
yeah,
I knew what fine because I've got some like with these M30s and stuff. I've got some plans with those. I can't really get into can't really get into much detail. Something that works with some people. That's
yeah,
all I can really say about it. But
yeah.
I'm trying to
Loki,
snap. Let's see.
Loki said, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I wanted to. Yeah, you go ahead.
we the delay makes it to where I'm like, okay, it's time for me to talk, and then talk over you. Um, Loki said up there that Tyrone used me as an example of breaking scopes in his video, and yeah, that's what the one
Oh
thing that
yeah.
I'm looking forward to with PCPs because most of the time I use the BSA Outlook 4 powers, and it's just because they hold up so well. And I have a really
Yeah.
bad astigmatism, and if I shoot through a really murky scope a bunch, I'll get really bad migraines.
Mm,
So I think with once I go PCP, I can go a little more affordable, higher magnification scope because
yeah.
I won't be torture myself with a Springer the whole time. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I have a BSA Outlook 3 to 9 40, and that thing has taken a beat from some Hudson, you know, 125s and stuff like that I've had, and it's great scope. That thing's
yeah,
awesome. The Tasco ones I did a review. I have three different. Well, I only have two now. I sold the gun that had one of them, but they're really tough too. But there's just a duplex reticle,
yeah.
which with an air gun, I mean, you really like to have a mil dot reticle if you can.
I wish
Real
they would
quick,
make 10 power. I
Just
wish it would
10
be
power.
like a BSA Outlook 10 power. That would be
Mhm.
amazing.
You know, Joe, I for all day 10 power scopes. He's like, you know what? Fixed power, 10 power. He said it's great. You don't. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's nice. But
I used to squirrel
um,
with a 10 power Weaver. I mean, for a long, I mean, most of my childhood, either that or an open sight Marlin that I couldn't hit anything with. But
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
every once in a while, my dad would let me borrow. He had a Savage model 19-24. It's a NRA trainer, but it looks like an old Mauser. And he had somebody
Okay.
put on it and one of those long 10 power Weavers, and it was a fantastic rifle. But
Yeah.
right before he died, he traded it to his shooting buddy,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and
No.
the gun that he traded for is an Anschutz that I've not shot on this channel yet, but
Oh,
I shoot
yeah.
lefty,
You talk
and
about
most of those rifles have a cheek piece on the right, so it's aggravating to shoot.
it. Yeah. Yep. Uh, scopes. Ken said, I'll tell you a good Springer scope. Athlon Talos 3 to 12 by 40. Um, second focal plane side focus, lifetime warranty, and it's Springer rated. Said I even called Athlon. So, and Ken knows his way around it. He's got a little bit of a collection of air guns. You might know a
Yeah,
thing or two. So, let's see. Cornfields Crosshairs UTG. I've got a UTG that came. It actually came on a Hudson 125 that I bought from a pawn shop, and what a great scope that thing is. UT thinks a 3 to 12 by 40, 40, 44, 40 something. Like I don't remember. I don't have it. But it's a really good scope. So
that's what someone recommended to me for the Hotson 135 that I've got. But I think that the Benjamin Trail 25 cal that I have, the recoil, it may just be the stock shape too, but I think that the Benjamin, the recoil is worse because the barrel is a lot longer. I don't know. It may just be the stock shape, but I think that Hotson, um, I I want to try a scope on it because as good as it shot open sights at 20 yards, I think that it would be a easy 50-yard air rifle.
yeah, yeah. See, I've always wanted a Benjamin because I love my Benjamin rifles that I have.
Yeah.
That gun has always been on my list. I remember when you came out with that video when you found that killer deal on Amazon.
Yeah.
And they actually had some on Walmart for like 100. It was less than $200 for that 25. That's the one that I want. And I just haven't. It just hasn't happened yet. It'll happen sooner or later. I'll come across when I got. I'll get
Yeah,
one. It's
I'd
the
like to
one I
really
want.
pick up on it. But I've got, I think I've got 3 or 4 of those BSA 4 powers. So, and then I've got a Hawk 4 power that I probably just put on there to finish off because
Yeah.
it's had a ton of rounds through it.
Mm.
And every time I shoot it, I'm like, is this really holding zero? Or, like I'll pick it up, my zero will be different, but then I'll go and shoot it and it'll be fine. But the next time I pick it up, it's a little weird. It's weird again. So I'm like, is
Uh,
this really holding zero or is it me? So
yeah. I've had a couple scopes like that.
that
Some of
Tasco,
these.
yeah,
What's that?
I've got one of those Tascos that's like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just weird. It's like, man, I could swear I don't think did I change the round or am I using a different pellet or you know what I
but
mean? Why?
another thing it could be is when I first started out, I was putting way too much lube. I was trying to lube tune everything because I watched too many videos on it, and I was putting way too much in there. And I figured out really quickly that as the temperature changes, the viscosity of all that stuff changes, and it changes your
Yeah. Yeah.
FPS.
Yep.
So now when I put them back together, I'm like the least amount that I can use.
Yeah. And that's how I learned that early on too, because and it's something and I've taught to my sons when they're helping. Like if I'm working on a car or something like that, it's like you guys come see this. We're broke, and so you're going to be fixing your own cars because I don't want to work on something.
Yeah.
But something I always say is lubrication. So and it is when it comes to certain things. But what I've learned with air guns is you don't need a lot. You know what I mean? You just want to put in there what you need.
Right.
Overdoing it, you're not doing yourself a favor because gumming things up. Like you said, temperature changes, viscosity, it's picking up or thin, get too thin, and it
Yeah.
just changes everything. It just changes how it acts.
Cornfield and
Yeah.
crosshair tip variations can have a influence on optic zero too. I did not know that, but that does make sense.
Yeah, I guess why wouldn't it? Those
Yeah.
are pretty fine, you know what I mean? Pretty precise instruments that are probably
Yeah.
prone to being affected by that. I never thought about that.
Especially if you're beating the snot out of it on a Springer. So
Yeah. 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 Corey and I talk quite a bit too. I'm learning a lot from him. He knows a lot, especially when it comes to spring guns. Uh, he's
is there anything um, that you want to add to your collection? Like stuff that you want? Because there's like a couple that I've been looking at. Even like your Diana, the kit you were talking about putting together.
Mhm.
I've been looking at, there's a Beeman 2027 that Buckrail does a bunch of stuff for.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in those. I haven't looked into it too much, but trying to think of what I want. There is a gun that I really do want to get, and it's another Snow Peak. It's an M25. Um, they actually had some here in the states, but they're sold out right now. They only had them in 22. And Crail Shop USA, look them up. They actually have that gun is available in 177, 22, 25, 30, and 35.
Oh wow.
And they have them over there. And I want one in 30. And that's because it's shipped and everything. It's like $397 from Crail.
Yeah.
The problem I had was I could get one in 22 over here for $233 through this other seller, but they don't have any. And I inquired with them about 30 caliber. And they were like, "Oh, this is just how they come to you." And that's it. They don't just get them in several different calibers. But so I kind of like that, but I'm kind of back and forth on like, do I really want to make that leap? Do I want to start? Do I want to go to 30 caliber, start going up, or I just want because I'm not disappointed with up to 25. 25 is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I like
Corey and I
25.
have had this conversation. Like, we really need to go. You need to go up. Does it need to be bigger? But at the same time, it's kind of like there's still that thing inside of me. It's like, yeah, 30. Because it doesn't sound like it's that much bigger, but you put a 30 cal pellet to a 25 caliber pellet.
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
But but then again, it's kind of like so. I don't know. What about you? I mean, I know you mentioned a couple of. But
Yeah, I think really right now I'm just condensing the stuff that I have, firearms and air guns and camera gear. Because last year I kind of, well, the first year I was on YouTube, I kind of bought the stuff I wanted to learn, and then last year I did that with cameras, and then now I'm like, well, I know I'm going to keep that first G1 Extreme. I'm going to keep that B3 and 177, and then I might want like a hand pumpable 177 PCP, and then picking up your gauntlet, and then I don't know. I think the next thing that I would want is probably an underlever or even like an HW50. But
yeah,
at the same time, I kind of want to get the Vortec kit for my 22 Diana, and then at the same time, I also kind of want an air gun that I could shoot like 100 yards with.
and
Well,
that's just that it for me too. It's like the 100 yard thing, which is I probably never. Well, I don't know. Joe keeps wanting me to come out and hunt prairie dogs. It's going to come today there over
yeah,
100. I was talking. He went Friday or yeah Friday, and he was over 200 yards. Prairie dogs, uh, but so I'm kind of in the same situation as you. I'll start thinking about like, you know what? That's the next one. That's where I'm. And
but at the
then something comes up, and you're like, you know what? Maybe that should be the next one. Maybe I
yeah,
should go in that direction. So it's, and I've been trying to be much more selective about what I'm doing. So like, I purchased quite a few tools here in the last, not quite a few, but instead of buying another gun, or some other stuff like that. I was like, you know what, you need this stuff to be working on these guns. You need to have these tools. Stuff I've been telling myself I need to buy for a long time. So instead of buying another gun, I'm like, let me get some stuff here so I can expand my abilities to work on these guns. It's not easy for me to do, man, because I like buying guns.
Yeah, I will say that shooting, because today I think was probably the first time that I've shot over 100 yards in probably a year and a half with anything other than a rim. Well, today was rimfire too, but I really hadn't shot that far in a long time. But I've just been shooting the distances that my guns were capable of shooting and trying to get smaller and smaller groups. And today I was shooting off my hood with nothing on the back of the rifle, and I was hitting stuff at 140 yards pretty easily with that 7 power 17 HMR. And I was like, man, shooting them budget air guns really makes you a good shot, because even if you're shooting 10, 15 yards or 20, I've never really shot 10 yards, but 15, 20 yards, that's plenty if you're
Yeah,
trying to get tiny groups.
and shooting. That's the other thing. The point you just made about it's made a way better shooter.
Yeah.
Rifle, and it proved, uh, like a lot better.
Yeah.
Not just way better. So that's definitely, I think, so. And when it comes to shooting and people, whatever they want to get into, and I know people, pellet gun, whatever. If you can get good with a pellet gun, and just like you said, that guy said, if you want to learn how to shoot, with that 20 caliber R7, that's,
Yeah. And he was shooting offhand too.
yeah, you were saying that shooting offhand and just
Yeah.
talking and like steady hitting it. What 65 yards you said?
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, that was nothing.
He,
You know,
he shoots these black powder trapdoor matches. It's like a cartridge, but you have to hand load. You're hand loading every time. It's like paper cartridges. That's what it is. But he shoots these matches where they shoot 500 yards offhand. It's big steel, but it's open sights with those big leaf sights, and he's shooting offhand and hitting them. But it's unreal. Last time I went and shot with him, I was shooting my 444 Marlin. About 210 yards, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And he had a, I want to say 6.8 PRC and an AR-10 platform, which is a heavy gun, and he was shooting it offhand and hitting steel at like 210 yards.
really.
And I was like, man, I
I'm
suck.
horrible off, man. It's just something I
Oh,
haven't worked on, and I need to, but I just haven't worked on it. But yeah, I'm
yeah.
terrible. There's no way I'm hitting anything at 200 yards. I
No.
can't hit it sitting behind a bench right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I need to practice. I've been doing a lot more pistol shooting. Have you watched the Weaponized Hippies channel at all? Drew over in.
I haven't got over there yet. Who was just telling me about? Someone who was just telling me about that
Yeah, I talked
channel.
to him. I go back and forth with him a little bit, emailing, because he's really into photography too, and cameras and stuff. And
It's probably you that was telling me about it.
yeah,
I know we've been talking.
yeah. But he's been shooting a lot of pistol on his channel, and so I've been not making as many excuses and getting out with the 1377. But that's another gun that I want to take apart, and I would like to turn it into a. There's a guy named Joseph that's about every video I make with it. He's like, hey man, I can teach you how to make this a PCP. And I'm like, man, that would be pretty fun. But
Yeah.
I've got 2 motorcycles apart, and I got too many projects, so
Yeah.
I don't
Well, that
know.
never. But yeah, the pistol stuff. I kind of went. So I might have talked about this last. I did. I talked about with Johnny about how Walmart decided to get out of selling air guns. Not
Yeah,
all of them, but pretty
right.
much everything. And a guy locally went around and bought a bunch of stuff. Then he had an ad on Craigslist, and I bought a bunch of stuff and a bunch of pistols,
Can't see.
pellet pistols, and stuff like that. And well, I was shooting them quite a bit there for a while, but it just, I'm just not a big. At least at this point, I'm just really not that into them. Just not. I would like to get like the PP 750 or something like that, which is a Numerex Notos.
Yeah, that's one that I've been looking at.
Yeah, which is that's another one that sounds like they've done a really good job. But made by Snoop. But so something like that I'd be into. I kind of like the carbine where it's still kind of like a little rifle. It's not a full on pistol. Uh, giant. Yeah.
And I said 500 yards. I think with that offhand, it may be like 2, but to me, it was incredible. So for those matches, those black powder matches, so that was probably
Oh,
wrong. But yeah, it's something crazy. It's like that Quigley down under stuff. It's insane. So I'll probably exaggerate a little bit right there. I was reading the comments. Half Circle H says he shoots. He's got a buddy that shoots a 45-7 rifle, and it weighs a ton. Yeah, some of those old rifles, those crazy long rifles, were
yeah.
pretty good. And Airgun and Pesting said, "Motorcycle, what you got?" I've got right now. I've got 2 Sportsters, and I've got one that I'm probably going to end up picking up off one of my buddies. And then I've got a big twin. It's a S&S motor 96 into a Baker 6-4. But I kind of need a frame because I've got one disc in my back that's like half the size that it needs to be now. So no more rigid frames for me.
No,
I'm
you're too
looking
old
for
for
it.
that, man.
Yeah, I'm looking for a swing arm 4-speed frame. If there's anybody out there with a title, I'm done buying motorcycles without titles.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Uh,
traded I traded a Dyna one time. This guy from Alabama, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's clean. And it was a rigid frame Evo motor 5-speed bike." And I get it back up here, and I was doing so much motorcycle stuff at the time that I knew the DMV guy in our county pretty good. And he came over and ran the numbers on the motor, and he's like, "Oh yeah, dude, this motor's hot." And I was like,
oh,
"Man, I just traded a running twin cam Dyna that was using oil, but for this bike that now I have to part out." So I'm
man.
done with no titles. But
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
my wife says anytime a square body Chevy is for sale or like an old van or something, she's like, "Stop doing poor people shit." Like she says it all the time to me. I'm like, "Yeah, but I can't help it. I just like,
Right. Yeah.
I want another." I just sold the square body I had. It was a turd, but
Yeah, I
anyway.
love the square bodies, man. That's kind of grew up. Those were, uh, you know, they were everywhere when I was
Yeah,
growing up and a teenager. They were all over. So they're great.
yeah. I had one in high school in 35s, and it was like the coolest thing
Yeah.
ever. And I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ruined it drinking beer and doing donuts. And,
Yep.
I
That's what
regret.
you do.
I'm kind of glad I don't have a son because I knew he would be breaking all of my stuff.
Yeah.
I got 2 girls, so
Yeah.
no.
Let's
But
see. G-Man asked Jason and Travis, what uh, budget money is he for PCP? Do you expect to spend to shoot 100 yards consistently? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know really I don't know anything about PCPs. I really don't know much about anything. But um, I think
No,
that Marauder that my buddy had, we were shooting 75 pretty easily, but it was about a 3-inch group, and 100 is a big difference than 75. I know when the pellets
yeah,
fall.
yeah, talk that stuff. As far as budget goes, uh, 100 yards. I mean, I don't have an Avenger, but I've heard that they're pretty well capable of pulling that off. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just put it out there right now. This M30B is going to be shooting dimes at 100.
Yeah,
But I really think I'm on. That I got a good thing going. I think this is going to be a good one to get. And we'll see what happens. But I think out of the box, I think people are able to do some mild tuning with these Avengers and get really good numbers out to that
Yeah.
distance. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I don't
so I'd
know.
probably do that one.
I think I'm not 100%, but I think that somebody's gonna let me borrow an Origin. I think in 22, and I may get to borrow another 22 PCP rifle. I don't know. I'm in the borrowing stage.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Uh,
Half Circle H says Vengers are very tunable. Hopefully they're not.
yeah.
Hopefully they're not super hard to take apart and put back together.
They're not. I know it's real similar to my Aspen.
That's what
Or
something
same.
G-Man said. I said on another video is like, I have this problem where the first thing that I want to do is take something apart. And he was like, yeah, it's called OCD. And I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
If you see
yeah,
my, all my camera cases are like Pelican cases with like even my Target camera is like, it's just a $40 camcorder, but I'm like, let's put it in a little case,
right. Yeah,
At OC.
yeah.
But
Uh,
my truck's super messy, so I guess it's
yeah.
select.
I'm weird like that too. Like up here, this room up here is either a total disaster. I'll get into doing something and stuff is just flying everywhere, and it'll lay around for a few days. And then I'm like, I got to straighten that out.
Yeah, my workshop.
House Circle also said shooting 100 yards consistently with a PCP, you need a big tank on it and a regulator, and that's true. That's something that Ken and I've been talking about. I've got my Marauder is not regulated, and I've got a Hudson BT65. It's not regulated. BT44 is not regulated. I've got an Armada. It's not regulated, and it's just like that's kind of the next logical. Because I noticed I was shooting I made a little video about a bipod here a few days ago.
Yeah,
I was using my Marauder, and I'm shooting at 30 yards, and I've got I don't have the spring. I don't know where the hammer spring tension is on it. It's a pretty, but I've got you can adjust the air flowing through the valve, and I had it maxed out, and I was getting like over 2 mags even towards the end of the last mag. I mean, it was already the shots are dropping. It's like it's time to get regulators for these guns. So,
yeah,
and Ken has told me, and I know Corey's told me, and it makes all the difference in the world. So if you want consistent accuracy out of them, you got to get them right.
yeah. At this, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna stick with the gauntlet that I'm getting from you for a while, I think, and really learn it because you can nickel and dime yourself to death with cheap air guns, and I feel like once I get really into PCPs, it's going to be substantially worse. So,
Yeah, yeah, and you
uh,
can. And I think you're gonna. I think you're gonna like that, Ken. But it's really, if I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna leave one. I mean, as far as well, what's the next piece do I want to get? You know what I mean? What's better?
yeah,
So I've done like, and you know that I did a lot of work to that gun, so it should perform really well for you right out of the box. So I'm happy that you're getting it.
yeah. And at the same time, I've been harassing Utah Air Guns for a month now.
You were saying
So
something about that, and I didn't really elaborate on it, but
I've been
what's
harassing a
going
bunch
on?
because I don't put my email out there a ton because I don't. I'm working with this one Chinese company, but it's because they harassed me and not harassed, but they every 3 or 4 weeks, the person would send me an email and I could tell that they're watching my video. So I'm like, well, if they're watching this stuff, then
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I'll support 'em. And one unboxing video that I did, within 30 minutes of me posting it, they sent me an email saying, hey, we all love the video. So I'm like, well, if they're watching my channel, then yeah, I'll support them. But
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
I've been reaching out to companies for probably 2 months and I can't get anything back. I think I'm gonna put
Nobody.
but she's a little more uh bigger words. She's got bigger words. So
Yeah. Yeah.
she's a little
I've
more
been kind of, I've been kind of starting to do that a little bit too. I'm trying to get, a CB Live set on my pod. Uh, I've been trying to get him to send me some other stuff, but I don't think, I don't know. So it'd just be kind of nice, nice stuff like that. But then again, I don't want to be helpful to anybody. Saying,
Yeah, the person I'm talking to, I'll put you guys in contact, but they just have been sending it to me, not really asking for anything. They did have a 9mm pistol trainer that they tried to send me, and I was like, that's not. I'm not the guy for that because I've got one 9mm pistol and it's a high point, and it's I'm
"Hmm,
not. I'm not going to be
yeah,
making videos with it. It's like
was that?
my
What? We'll talk about it. Was that pretty recent that they brought up that?
yeah,
I was probably talking to the same person. but
probably are. We probably are.
but anyway, yeah, we'll touch on that later. But let's see.
Yeah, we probably should wrap. I got about a quarter of my phone's battery left, so
Oh, yeah, we're over an hour. And that was just on this one. I think we did probably 15 minutes on the other one. So
yeah, we
hour
could
and
do it
11
again
minutes.
in a month or so too.
Yeah, I mean that's something I want to do with all everybody that I'm doing these with. Just keep doing them. You know what I mean? It seems
Yeah,
like people like them. Let me see.
I think that our community of YouTube guys is so small too that it would really help all of our channels out.
Yeah, that's kind of what this to me and kind of what it's about. Is getting connected with other creators and then
Right.
kind of getting our names out there. Just like with you, there's a couple of guys that I know that I just kind of assume that no, they know who you are, and there's people that watch your stuff that they don't know who I am and stuff like
Right.
that. So,
Right.
and one guy, well, it was Corey from Cornfields and Crosshairs called me today. Like, hey man, I was checking out his channel. I really like his stuff. I like his demeanor and then how he does stuff. And I said, yeah. So it's really cool that we're able to kind of do this kind of stuff for each other. So,
Yeah, I think I'm hit or miss with people. I get some comments. That's what I was telling you on the phone. I think that some people I come across as arrogant, and I'm like, I'm not
I
at
don't
all.
get that from you at all. I know you said that the
I
other
look.
day, and I've never gotten that
I
from
think
one.
it's just the cadence that I talk, and then some people think that that's me, and my sense of humor is weird. So, um, but yeah, I unblocked all of those people, so most of them have not recommented. But at one time,
Yeah,
I had 100 people uh, blocked. It was nuts there. But I honestly think that that was from the same person making accounts over and over.
yeah.
But that's I won't get
And
crunk up
that's
about.
crazy how determined people get. So,
Yeah, that dude's a nutcase.
um, real quick, I just want to see if there's any other questions I want to answer before we sign off here. Yeah, Corey said to dig the channel. Uh, Ken's got a new video coming. Let's see.
He says Cornfields Crosshair says he didn't get the arrogance. Maybe it's just me being. I have to watch myself so much when I edit that I'm like, man, I sound like an idiot. So
Yeah. And G Man did say, I wanted to, yeah. He says, I agree. It seems like PCPs with a good sized plenum and a ball is the best way to do it. Gollum would do it if it had a plenum, right, Jason? Yeah, I think it would because you can do a lot with that gun. I mean, there's a lot of, it's got a big valve in it.
yeah,
It's got the potential to do it. But air gun pesting, oh shoot, H10, field target trophy power, 88 Barracudas, 9 that must be that. I'm assuming Ken, that's the video that you're talking about coming out soon. So if you guys don't know, Ken Brown, you're not sub to his channel. Go there and check him out. Air Guns and Pesting channel. Corey McCann's got a channel, Cornfields and Crosshairs. He's got some really exciting stuff that's going to be coming before too long. If you're into break barrels and spring guns, you're definitely I want to be subscribed to him. So, and of course Lou, he's on here. Always check Lou out. There's all kinds of guys on here. If I miss anybody, I'm not trying to blurt
yeah.
out. Let me low
I'm gonna have
key.
to take a
Low key
motorcycle.
Air Guns. What's that?
So Lou's gonna have to make a motorcycle trip. I looked up how far he was from me, and I'm like, that's doable. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like 10
It is
hours. 10
awesome.
hours on a bike. I used to. My wife lived up here, and then I was stationed at Cherry Point, and I made that trip on a motorcycle probably 30 times, and it was 5 hours one way. So it's doable. It's doable,
Yeah.
Lou.
Yep. All
I'm
right. Well,
I'm half kidding too.
he can meet you. You guys can
Yeah,
hang out somewhere.
meet somewhere in Virginia. Find somebody that lives in Virginia. Go shoot. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
weird to see a Harley with a bunch of air guns strapped to it. I don't think.
Not at all. I'd be like,
No,
follow that bike.
I wouldn't
Like
get
this
pulled over.
guy's going on.
Yeah, I would get pulled over.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm like, sir, they're not. They're just air guns.
Yeah. Freeze.
Yeah,
Just pellet gun, man. Relax.
yeah. We've
All
got to
right.
go.
You got any socials or anything that you want to plug? I don't think you do you? Don't you just have
I don't
channel
do a
right
ton of
now?
social media. The only Facebook that I do is on Lou's Facebook page, First Aid Air Gun. I go in there every once in a while, and then my Instagram is Travs TRAVS underscore egogram, but it's mostly motorcycles and photos of stuff in my yard. So
Gotcha.
I don't get there much. I actually don't use I put limiters on my phone, and my wife has the password because I'll spend so much time on it if I don't do that. So,
Yeah.
um, but
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, you're watching my channel, so you can find these episodes over here. Like I said, Airgun Radio. If you're not subbed over there, please go over to that channel and sub so I can start doing the live. I guess if it doesn't take off, I'll just do a separate playlist here on this channel, and I'll just leave them over here. Uh, Instagram is at Radio Airgun. Facebook, there's a Facebook group. Just search Airgun Radio. If you got any email you want to send me, airgunradio@gmail.com. Any pictures or anything. If I do, I'm going to be doing a couple of recorded interviews coming up here pretty soon or shows. And so we'll be able to, something I like, been trying to do, Travis, but have the guys that are out there watching send me pictures. Timmy, I have some on the top of the list that are going on the next one. I put them in the intro to the recorded ones, so that way they can see their guns on there and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I think that's about it for me. I'm gonna go hang out with the wife. Get ready for tomorrow. We're going to get the son a new cell phone, so that's not not going to be cheap. So we
you're
got
going to
that
go
going for him.
Apple or non-Apple?
He wants Apple. I'm an Android guy. He's got an Android phone now, and it's been jacked up on him. And all of his buddies got Apple. He wants Apple.
I
Like,
hate,
okay.
but
So, all right, guys. Have a good night.
I
Got
appreciate it,
some
man.
stuff coming up here, so we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for doing it, man. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.